pretty difficult to stand out among modern laptops today. Many of them look very similar and have similar specs, and one of the ways that LG is standing out here is with a very lightweight design. So this is a 15.6-inch laptop that weighs less than 2.5 pounds. Now something like the MacBook Pro, the newest one, weighs over 4 pounds. So that is a much lighter laptop for a comparable size. Now the LG Gram series has been out for a few years, but this is the first time I get to take a look at one. And this is the 2017 model. So this gets a new Kaby Lake processor, a much bigger battery. We go from 35 watt hours to 60 watt hours, and we also get a lighted keyboard, which is a welcome addition. Getting through the spec sheet, they make it pretty simple here. There's one configuration for all of these computers. So it comes with a Kaby Lake Core i7 dual-core 2.7 gigahertz processor. We also get 16 gigs of DDR4 RAM. We also have Intel's HD Graphics 620 GPU, along with 512 gigs of SSD storage, which is quite a bit for this price. Speaking of price, this is definitely not cheap at $1,700, but it does come with some impressive specs. So getting to the unboxing, first thing we have to do here is cut some tabs along the back, and then we can go ahead and lift up the lid. Incidentally, they've done a very nice job with the packaging here, so if you look at the inside of the lid, it's sort of coated in foam to keep everything nice and cushioned. So obviously the first thing we see here right away is the dark silver LG Gram wrapped in plastic, and as soon as you lift it up, it really is stunning just how light it is. Now before we unwrap this, let's get to the accessories. So if we remove the tray in the bottom of the box, we have some paperwork. Along the right side, we have a compartment full of the necessary accessories. So that includes a power supply and a USB-C to Ethernet adapter. So for people who want a hardline Ethernet connection, you have an option right in the box. So one of the ways they've been able to create a very durable, lightweight, and thin design is by using a nanocarbon magnesium alloy material. And it's definitely unlike anything you've felt before. It doesn't have the cold touch of metal, but it definitely has the quality and rigidity of metal. Now it definitely doesn't feel as rigid as something like an aluminum unibody MacBook Pro, but it also doesn't feel like plastic, so there's no creaking gaps or creases or anything like that throughout the design. Now the design of this computer is basically dictated by the display. So this is a wide 15.6-inch 16:9 1080p LCD IPS display. And you can see just how thin the bezels are. This allows the computer to be relatively compact in terms of its width and its depth. So it's a very compact computer for its screen size. This also gives us plenty of room for a full-size keyboard, including a number pad, which is very nice to have here. So when it comes to typing on this keyboard, it's pretty quiet, it is fairly soft, and there is, I think, plenty of key travel. So to me, it feels like a conventional keyboard in terms of laptops. It's nothing unusual like the one on the MacBook Pro. So it's a very quiet keyboard if that's important to you, and for me, it's pretty comfortable to type on. Each key is relatively stable, so you don't get that mushy, wobbly feeling when you're typing. For the most part, it's a very nice keyboard overall. Also built into the top row of this keyboard are some dedicated function keys unique to this computer. One of them is the LG Control Center. This gives you quick access to some system functions as well as some settings you may want to adjust on the fly. One of the features we can turn on here is instant booting. So if you want the computer to boot up soon as you open up the lid, that's an option you can turn on. Speaking of that boot time, it's extremely fast. It's basically like waking up your computer from sleep. We also have our screen brightness controls. We can put the computer to sleep. We also have the option to turn off the trackpad. Incidentally, this button remains lit when the keyboard is off, so you can always see it. We also have quick access to our connected display options. So if you want to quickly change that configuration, you can jump right to it. We also have our keyboard backlight, so you can toggle between off, medium, or bright. We also have a button for reading mode, which has its own indicator, which lets you know when it's on. But basically, this warms up the display to strip away some of that blue light, so it's less fatiguing on the eyes. Our trackpad here is fairly conventional in terms of its size and has a nice smooth texture, so it's really easy to track precisely across this surface. It's a fully mechanical trackpad, so no matter where you click on this trackpad, it does register, but of course you can get deeper clicks on the left and right lower corners. In terms of drivers, which does make a difference here, it is using Elan drivers instead of Microsoft, but for the most part, I really have no complaints in terms of its performance. So this display looks pretty decent. Again, this is a full touchscreen display with an LCD IPS panel, so it looks great no matter what angle you look at it. In terms of brightness, this hovers around 300 nits at maximum and covers 86% of the RGB spectrum. So it's definitely not the brightest or the most color accurate display out there, but overall I think it finds the right sweet spot for this type of laptop. Now this is a glossy display, so it is prone to glare, but they've done a pretty good job managing it. And because we have this edge-to-edge display that is ultra thin, they have moved the camera to the hinge, which is not the most flattering position for it. It's a fairly decent camera at 720p, so it's nothing remarkable, but the angle definitely isn't the best. The other issue with this location is that it's so close to the keyboard that you can actually see your hands on the keyboard when you're using it. The hinge is also very nicely designed, and it only takes one finger to lift up the lid without moving the entire computer, so you don't have to pry it apart. So again, very nicely weighted hinge, especially for a computer this light. When it comes to ports, we have a lot going on here. So along the right side, we have a Kensington lock. We have two USB Type-A connectors. One of them, the blue one, is USB 3. We also have a headphone jack and a micro SD card slot. This headphone jack isn't just any headphone jack. This is equipped with DTS Headphone X audio processing. So this delivers much more immersive 3D-like sound with 11.1 channels of audio with standard stereo headphones. So it delivers a much more immersive soundscape. On the left side, we have a charging port, another USB Type-A 3.0 port, an HDMI output, in addition to USB Type-C. Unfortunately, this is not Thunderbolt 3, but of course USB-C comes with a lot of benefits, including charging and of course display output. So this works perfectly with my LG Ultra Wide display. All I have to do is connect it, charges the laptop, and powers the display. And of course, we have plenty of processing power here to drive both the native display and the connected ultra wide display. Along the bottom, we have a single removable panel, but they don't make it easy. You have to remove these rubber feet to get to them, but these rubber feet are nice and big, so they protect the bottom of the laptop and feel nice and stable. We do have our speakers down here, so you can see these slits along the side. So although they sound very wide and immersive, it's kind of funny how it really throws the sound around the room. But they're very thin sounding, and because they are positioned toward the bottom and toward the side, sometimes they're prone to positional distortion. So if this is on your lap, depending on how you're angling the computer, sometimes it's much clearer on the left than the right, so it sounds off balance. For me, it's a little irritating. Hopefully they can improve this, but if you're using this on your desk, it's not too bad at all.
And portable, and it has a lot of moving parts which come included with this package, which allow you to really do a lot of different things with this console.
So when it comes to graphics, this clearly is not a gaming computer with Intel's HD Graphics 620 integrated chip, but it does deliver respectable Cinebench scores. However, this computer is best for older titles, otherwise graphically intensive games essentially turn into slideshows even with the lowest settings possible. Our Antutu scores reveal the overall system performance profile, and it's clear that the GPU-intensive games will struggle, but games and tasks that are less reliant on 3D acceleration should find solid performance with the new Kaby Lake Core i7. The SATA 3 SSD also delivers pretty solid performance with a read and write speed at around 400 to 500 megs. Of course, one of the most important benchmarks is battery life, and that has improved significantly over the previous generation. Again, we go from a 35 watt-hour battery to 60 watts, and with Kaby Lake, that should deliver up to 12.5 hours of performance. But in my general testing, I was able to get about 8 hours, which is pretty impressive. So in the end, I really like this computer for a number of reasons. It's extremely lightweight, but with a very large display and very capable performance for day-to-day operation. It's not a workhorse by any means, but it definitely gets the work done for me. And it's really unusual to have this very large laptop that's this lightweight and portable. And with excellent battery life, this is a great computer to take with you day to day. Of course, I would like to see better speakers, better anti-glare performance on the screen, and perhaps a better RGB profile. But overall, it's a fantastic computer and definitely something to consider. And I hope you guys enjoyed this look at the LG Gram for 2017. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up to let me know. And I'll see you again in my next video.